릴리한테 해도 이 친구가 널 살렸으니까.
This is not another Stellar Blade video. I'm just using Stellar Blade as an entrance point here to discuss something I really dislike, which is the Reverse Halo effect. I also really hate the Halo effect, of course, which is the main thing then. But this is more about the Reverse Halo effect, which is also called the Horn effect. I'm also going to cover what is telegraphic character design. Something that's very important for game development, for movies, for TV shows, for anime, whatnot. But I think for video games, it is the most important actually, because it also helps with user friendliness. I worked on a game a few years ago, which I was embarrassed about in a way when I was released, right? Because the artists guys just refused to follow any kind of telegraphic design, so the game was very hard to understand, right? And the mixture of like the Halo / Reverse Halo and bad character design, again telegraphic character design, is really interesting, I think. But I want to enter it then from the Stellar Blade perspective, because it's a great example I've seen today, yesterday, how people now are hating on Lily Artemis in Stellar Blade, which are basically just because they hate Eve and Stellar Blade. Right? Let's talk about it. But the video, you guys subscribe, press the like button, let's go. Let me first explain what the Halo effect is. This is something I've seen a lot in my work as a scientist, trying to help people with this thing, and it's very annoying. It's just super frustrating. And it's something I think is even more today social media. So Halo effect basically is that because you like someone, for whatever reason, right, you assume that they're good at all the stuff too, right? For example, this is very common then with celebrities, right? So you have a celebrity, which you know, oh, this guy's such a great actor. I love his acting. So when I ask you, do you think that this guy's good at math? You can say, yeah, of course he's good at math. He's a great actor. Obviously, that actually logically makes zero sense. Just because someone's a good actor doesn't mean that naturally will be good at math, right? Or vice versa, of course. What you have there is the Halo effect. Because you like someone, you tend to assume they're good at something you don't know, right? Especially if you don't actually know how good you are at whatever the other type it is, you're gonna assume a positive effect on them, right? Because you like them, ergo, the Halo effect. The Halo effect is also very common in relationship, right? And this is also where you commonly see people that are completely, how do I say it, ignoring their partner's issues, right? So if you love with someone, you can automatically, to some extent, have a Halo effect, right? You don't see their issues, you ignore some stuff, and as soon as you break up with this person, suddenly this stuff is like, wait, that's super annoying. And that stuff is annoying, and that thing, that's because suddenly the Halo effect is removed, right? Now you're not dating them anymore. That's probably the most obvious, I think, go to example of when people are realizing there were Halo effect around them. But like I said, the Halo effect drives me crazy today, especially thanks to social media, right? Because of course, when everything's about likes and this and views, I think it's much worse today, honestly, right? Because in the past, certainly celebrities had, a massive Halo effect around them, but nowadays it's like, well, this, YouTuber or this Twitch streamer, they have this much likes on the video, right? Oh, they have to be correct then. That's an ad populum falsely for that matter, but especially, of course, an Halo effect. People are like, oh yeah, but he has this many subscribers, so he has to be correct, right? I think it's even worse for that reason, right? Because you're a celebrity now, and you're a celebrity with, like, the status of a number of subs or likes or whatever. In the past, you were a celebrity, but no one knew how many like subs you had, right? So that's making it even worse, I think. Yeah, there's a Halo effect. A few years ago, I made a video about the Halo effect. The video is about like 3 hours long, so let's go on, because I feel like I covered the topic. Let's talk about the Reverse Halo effect instead. First of all, I don't like the name Horn effect, because if you already have an established title for something, an established disease, an established scientific thing, whatever, then calling it reverse means a lot more than adding it and calling it horn instead, right? But I digress. So either reverse Halo effect or horn effect. As you can imagine, it is a very similar thing, right? It's just completely reversing everything. So basically, because you dislike someone, you assume that they're bad at everything. Well, I don't like X person. Ergo, X person is bad at math or bad at whatever, right? And this is a very common issue, of course. Probably similar to social media and so on. But I think you can see how that comes back into the general issue that I brought up earlier, right? And that, of course, brings us back to the example in this video, right? The hatred for Lily now suddenly is celebrated. the reason, of course, the Lily is hated isn't because Lily is necessarily a bad character or better designed character or bad art or whatever, right? No, it's because people hate Stellar Blade. So if they hate Stellar Blade and they already have made 20 posts and YouTube videos and this and that about how Eve is a terrible character, now then they want to tell you how Lily's a terrible character, right? Because Lily happens to also be part of Stellar Blade. So it's a very common thing. And I guess you can see the halo effect then, in, for example, in Baldur's Gate 3, right? Everyone is like, well, oh, it's a great game, and oh, that scene with this character is kind of naughty. Oh, that's a great scene, but then the other scene is also good because of, you can have the same snowball effect. I can keep going with that. But the reverse halo effect, I bring it up, and this is when I make the video, because I feel that this is honestly, for me, like a better words, right? This is probably what I feel is the most common issue with the Evoke, so to speak, right? Or DIE or whatever. The biggest issue with them, is that they have this obsession with the horn effect and all Revers Halo. That they assume that everything they hate is everything they hate, right? Everything that is part of a group is very much a very simplistic mindset, which is like, very black and white, right? Either you're against me or you're with me, which I feel is a very Evoke issue, generally speaking. And if we go back into Stellar Blade, the hatred for Lily is completely silly. It's complete reverse halo effect. People that are so hateful of Stellar Blade and Eve generally that they hate all the other female character next to her, right? It just gets ridiculous, right? It gets completely dishonest. So what I've seen now then, let me give you an example. So apparently this, according to some people, is a child. I don't see how that is at all portrayed in the game. So first of all, Lily is an adult female, right? She isn't, I'll say it, 85-year-old old grandma or something. But she's clearly just kind of like mid-20s, maybe even 30s, given she's like a, South Korean woman, so something like that, right? And, she's like an engineer. She kind of stays behind. You find her in this capsule and you save her. And then, I don't think that this game at all portrays her as young or something, at all, honestly, at all. She's like a typical geeky nerd girl. She's like, oh my god, look at this cool new gadget kind of character, right? If anything, I find it kind of bland, honestly. And that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, right? With telegraphic character design. Cover that more later then. But basically, I find the design somewhat lacking. She's very kind of generic. Oh, I'm a mech girl. I can build stuff or something, I love mechanics and IT or something. But it's basically her character. And yeah, she's portrayed as, your random, like, fresh college graduate girl that likes tech stuff, right? Kind of like 25 years old. I don't know. Something like that. This generally is nothing at all in the game that portrays her as even somewhat young. I would say she's basically at that age. And she's kind of a smart, intelligent character, right? A little bit shy, a little bit introverted. But again, because she's, again, I keep saying it, she's kind of a generic, engineer lady, right? Fresh graduate or older, something like that, yeah. So she's gonna be the shy and so on. And then people are portraying, oh no, people that like Lily now, oh yeah, you know what they like. I mean, it's absurd. It's so dishonest. Like, it is insane. But like I said earlier, it comes from this, again, reverse halo effect, right? Because now this is incredible grasping after straws. I keep saying, if you play the game, this character is never for a second portrayed as a young character. I mean, young as in, under, like she's clearly like a high degree engineering lady, I keep saying it, she's portrayed as, 25 plus year old experienced, veteran mechanic lady. Yeah, it's absurd. Like, it's nothing based on reality whatsoever, right? Incredible far-fetchedness. Well, that's because of, again, the reverse halo effect, right? You're grasping after anything to be angry over, anything to hate this thing over, and it just becomes incredibly dishonest. Now, let's talk telegraphic character design, something I think is very important when you make video games, but also like anime and manga, right? And I think that Black Clover is, I think, the best example of great telegraphic character design in manga and anime. So the art of this anime is basically insanely into it, right? So for example, Yami means darkness in Japanese. He got dark magic, right? Fugulong, when Fug is Spanish for fire, he got fire magic. He has red hair, right? Dog has black hair. Silva, he got Mercury magic, right? Like this is like straight up. Merolona is a lioness, right? She's an aggressive female. There's like lions because the female lion hunt, right? And she has the meteor, the fire thing in her name. She's like a fire lion, right? Use the name alone, you can tell what the character can do, right? And I bring up Beclover because Beclover is a really, really good manga and anime in the sense that they can have like one chapter flashback and you basically feel you know everything about the character already. You just need 10 chapters because the art is so good at, again, designing the character that their power is the personality and their name and their looks, their visual, everything comes together, right? So you can see a character and in one page, like, I can't understand who this person is. And that's why the flashback can be so short and consistent. So of course we have many examples of this thing called Telegraphic character design. But honestly, I think Beclover is the best example of it, seriously. It's an incredible good example of it. I mean, the artist is actually obsessed with it. Everyone's name basically means what they do and so on. Yeah, it's like you're born to become what your magic is. But anyway, there's some game example then. A game like League of Legends, right, for example, is pretty good at this thing. And it has to be to make the game user-friendly. Now, of course, you can build your character in any way you want, right? But obviously, when we see Blitz on this image, this huge mechanical guy on this image here, right? You kind of figure out he's probably a tank, right? He's like a tank support character. And you kind of know that because that's a huge mechanical guy. When you see this like fish thing on the side here, trash, yeah. And you see this out in the state, he's a much bigger model. You're like, well, that's probably a tank, right? And when you see this lady to the left there, this blonde woman, was like kind of, normally dressed or whatever. You're like, that's probably a mage or something, or she probably isn't a tank, right? I mean, you can have female tanks, but it probably isn't her because she's running around in like some kind of weather outfit or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, it's the weather girl probably isn't the tank, right? That's a very basic way to look at telegraphic character design in video games. But honestly, it's very important, especially for a game again like League of Legends. We have more than 100 playable champions, and especially then when you're watching it as an observer, right? You're watching like a map in two different teams, you're playing yourself. It really helps, right? If you can easily see the silhouettes and understand the character and so on, right? So basically, that's telegraphic character design. That's what I'll explain it again. It's a bit of Stellar Blade for the reverse false thing. And that brings us back to Lily. So, I don't get it, honestly, right? Maybe it's being dishonest. But for me, at least, when I saw Lily, thanks to, of course, that telegraphic character design, this character to me screams engineer. It's those pants, I guess. I see it in all the animes too, right? Mostly in Japanese stuff. When I see a character with this kind of clothing, I guess, to me this is like, oh yeah, this is an engineer. She will do mechanical stuff. She'll be all geeky. I don't know. I said earlier, I found Lily to be kind of a stale, generic engineer, nerd girl kind of design, right? But that's what she is, Some kind of like mid-20s engineer girl, kind of trope even, right? And that's why I feel it's so incredibly dishonest. People acting like she looks like she's, quite, it's just absolute bullshit. And another thing, it's also that very, very BS with whole Lily, is that now then, again, like a better terms, right, the Vogue or whatever, the Vogue now are claiming that Lily should be heavily armored, right? That screams you dishonesty. I mean, sure, I get it, they hate that women have, scantily clad clothing or whatever, but this here is clearly an engineer. Look at her pants again. Engineer character. Why would she be heavily armored for? It doesn't make any sense. I get that typical, women should have more armors or whatever, right? But that only makes sense if the character is actually an active combatant, right? You're playing as Eve. Lily is your support mechanical girl back at your base. She has zero purpose of her to wear heavy armor. Doesn't make any sense. And there, honestly, I can see kind of how, again, in the Vogue, right, like better terms, how they have just lost the argument, right? They don't even have new arguments. It's the same regurgitated argument for the last 20 years now, and it's like, oh, every woman should be like in really heavy mecha armor. Like, even the women aren't fighting. The women are staying at home, like building mechanics. They should also be in super heavy armor. Doesn't it make it? It makes zero sense. Why would she be in heavy armor for? And sure, she has somewhat revealing outfits. It's not like super revealing, but it's a little bit revealing, sure. And I can see an argument being like, it's kind of pointless that she's revealing outfit, and that's true. I can see that, but does it matter? Does it like break out of the characterization? Does it break out of like the world building and whatever? Doesn't actually, because again, right, she's basically a tropey, nerdy, mechanical woman, which honestly, me having worked with a lot of them, highly educated nerd ladies, so to speak, she's kind of like them, honestly, a little bit, you know. Oh my god, look at this mechanical stuff, I can be this here, oh my god. And then, you know, usually has a little bit of a social anxiety, the shy and so on. Yeah, I mean, she's that kind of character, right? And they also don't run around in heavy armor because it doesn't make any sense if you're building the heavy armor, but not using it themselves, right? You know. So, like I said earlier, this is not a stellar blade video per se. I want to explain, you know, the reverse halo effect. I want to explain, again, telegraphic character design. But to me, it's just sort of perfect example of it, right? Where it's like, okay, so obviously this character has zero evidence of being portrayed as, like, too young, so to speak, right? This is ridiculous. This is completely out of bullshitting from these people, right? But also the whole general sense of, like I said, right, all this whole, like, oh, it has to be in armor, she has to be in that stuff. And I mean, like I said, I get it, you know. It's a very, very trope in video games. The female character run around in like skimpy metal bikinis and the men have full armor. So of course I understand where this classic, like, oh, women have bad outfits or whatever, comes from, right? But like I said, this is a very classic engineering telegraphic design. And she's far from the front line. If anything, she probably is the furthest, right, from the front line. Typically, the mechanic person doing all the weaponry is in the first in the back, right, you know, and the medic is. So, why would she be armor? And that to me also comes back to it, I don't know, that I'm so tired, I guess, in a way. I'm really tired, right, of the DA and vocal or whatnot, right, because this is getting ridiculous now, right? And every year it gets worse, honestly. And this comes up to me, then it's a good example of it, right? It's like, oh, come on. At least have, like, plausible arguments, right? Because they have to know deep down this is complete bullshit. I mean, most of them probably has never even played this game, right? That's the thing, right, you know? They see this character, they hate this game, and say, oh my gosh, she's wearing, like, skimpy outfits. Terrible game, how could she be fighting that? Well, she isn't fighting. Maybe you should play the game before you critique it, right? This is absurd. But anyway, guys, hope it was educational for you guys. Let the video, subscribe, press the like button, have a great day.